She's quite right in pointing out that the honourable member for Clacton, by his own admission, has no idea and no clue about this issue. She's quite right too that these proposals are detailed. Sir Jon has provided a 450-page report with 88 separate recommendations that we will be consulting on. When we implement a final version of that, it will be the biggest overhaul to our water sector in over a generation. We will reset it from top to bottom, so we have a water sector that works on the side of customers and the environment and investors, rather than the serial failure we witnessed under the previous government.
Thank you, Shanker.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. The Derwent runs through the heart of Derby, but thanks to the polluting water companies and the Tories opposite, its health is in serious doubt. Can the Minister reassure my constituents that this Labour government is committed to taking the robust action needed desperately to restore the river and preserve it for our communities to enjoy safely?
Secretary of State.
Thank you for this question. The state of the River Derwent is, alas, seen in so many other rivers, lakes and seas up and down the country. That is why we are launching today a water revolution to completely reset the water sector from top to bottom, so the failings of the past can never happen again.
Alice MacDonald.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. Norfolk is home to many beautiful beaches and rivers, but like many people are concerned about the state of their waters. The Cow Tower dippers in Norwich are applying for designated swim status that will mean that Anglian Water is obliged to monitor their water. That's one specific example, but can the Secretary of State expand on how the reforms will help local groups hold water companies to account and speed up processes like that?
Secretary of State.
I thank you for her question. By monitoring every single outlet and by making that visible to people right across the country, campaigners and residents, we will open up the system to far greater transparency than has been the case previously.
Tom Rutland.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Last week it was revealed that the Chief Executive of Southern Water was awarded an egregious, enormous pay rise worth hundreds of thousands of pounds, despite the company continuing to oversee sewage spills and infrastructure failures affecting my constituents in East Worthing and Shoreham. Does the Minister agree with me that water bosses shouldn't profit from overseeing catastrophic failure?
Secretary of State.
I absolutely agree with him about that point, and I share his sentiment that this payment is outrageous. It was possible because it is part of a scheme that was permitted under the regulatory regime allowed by the previous government. We've changed the law. It won't happen again.
Douglas McAllister.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Can I commend the Minister for the action contained within this statement to hold water companies to account, not least the new regulator and ombudsman. Scotland's widespread water pollution challenges are far greater than England's, particularly sewage-related pollution in our rivers and on our beaches. Scottish Water is publicly owned, but Scottish ministers are failing to take the problem seriously with inadequate monitoring. Does the Minister agree that Scotland needs to take similar urgent action, which only a new direction under Scottish Labour can deliver?
Well, I do agree with him. We had the example earlier during this session of the complacency with which the SNP treat these kind of issues. There is only one chance now in Scotland for a reset, and that is the election of a Scottish Labour government in Holyrood to work, as we are doing, to clean up pollution from our rivers, lakes and seas.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. My constituents of Bangor-Aberconwy have been hit by a massive rise in bills, which is a real kick in the teeth, given that thousands of them were without water after a major burst earlier this year. So can I warmly welcome the Secretary of State's commitment to devolving the economic regulation of water to Wales, which would allow the Welsh Government to move forward with the Commission's recommendation in terms of having an independent economic regulator from Wales. So would my honourable friend agree with me that this demonstrates the value of two Labour governments working together for the bill payers in Wales?
Secretary of State.
I do agree with her, and I understand that the Welsh Deputy First Minister will be laying a statement before the Senedd today, giving his comments on Sir Jon's report.
Nashaba Khan.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the Secretary of State for everything he's doing to transform water companies across our country. My residents in Gillingham and Rainham have suffered astronomical hikes in their bills and have also been exposed to pollution and sewage dumps in our water. Yet the Chief Executive of Southern Water thinks he deserves a bonus of approximately £700,000 on top of his salary. Does he agree with me that this is an absolute disgrace, and will he ensure that any loophole that is used to bring forward these bonuses is shut down under his reforms?
Secretary of State.
I do agree with her. It is disgraceful, and I'm afraid these problems arose because the previous government instructed the regulators to apply only a light touch approach to regulation when what they really needed was to get an absolute grip on this failing sector. They failed to do that. This government will ensure that is what happens.
Sir Strathern.
Mr Deputy Speaker, many of my constituents share my utter disgust about the way in which water companies have been able to profit off degrading our rivers and chalk streams. So while it's fantastic to see bonuses already banned now at polluting Anglian water, to see that we're following up by taking action and sacking regulators that were asleep at the wheel. Absolutely. But as we start on really ambitious reforms to halve sewage spills over the coming years, how can we make sure we're tightening up some of those monitoring procedures to ensure that my constituents can see clearly and transparently whether we're feeling the benefits of that locally?
Secretary of State.
Thank you for his question. Monitoring will now be compulsory on every single outlet, not just some of them, and that data will be published in near real time so that consumers know exactly what is going into the waterways in the area where they live or where they're on holiday.
Under Martin.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I warmly welcome the statement and the work of the government. Portsmouth as an island city is well aware of the damage done. We see it, we smell it, and we feel it in our pockets every day. Over 100 of my constituents have raised the fury and disappointment at the way the Tories allowed these firms to extract billions and pump raw sewage. Abolishing Ofwat and an independent water commissioner is another brilliant step that will put real teeth to serve customers. Mr Deputy Speaker, will the Secretary of State confirm that this government will ensure action, so we don't just monitor, we take action, so there's no light touch, we take action, and so that our actions ensure fair water companies serve the public interest first? And will you meet with me and my resident, David Taylor, a brilliant campaigner and inventor, to explore how we don't just stop sewage pumping, but how we reduce leaks?
Secretary of State.
Yep, assuming he's not the honourable member for Hemel Hempstead, but another David Taylor, I would be happy to ensure that she gets that meeting. And can I take this opportunity to thank her for being such a champion for her residents and her constituency. I had the honour to visit a couple of times, and I've seen how strongly she fights for clean water in that community.
Speaker, I very much welcome the focus that the Secretary of State is putting now on protecting water customers, because my constituents in Early and Woodley constituency and I have seen our Thames water bills go up dramatically, and we'll want to know that those bill increases are going towards improving the infrastructure and customer service, as opposed to payouts to bosses that happened so much under the regulators' watch previously. I have a meeting with Thames water bosses in their Reading headquarters next week, and following that meeting, I ask if the Secretary of State will agree to meet with me and fellow Labour MPs working on the issue